again, here's me muttering while I'm driving. It's quite a good view, I think. This looks beautiful when it's not all overcast. You can probably see on the horizon there, there's hills, and this road's just it's got. Now that I've got past that huge convoy of trucks with that guy sitting right at the front of it, the road is clear ahead. Actually, it occurred to me afterwards, I think he was doing 90 kilometres an hour, which is the most he can do with the horse box on the back, so I retract that moron. I shouldn't have said that. Okay, what should I mutter about now? As you probably guessed, I quite like conspiracy theorists. Conspiracy theories, rather, not conspiracy theorists. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I mean, people think that I am, but I'm an open-minded skeptic, I would say. So I thought I might do one or two just things while I'm driving. I drive quite a lot, and as I have an interest in conspiracy theories, I tend to. It's one of the things I think about while I'm driving around when I'm in between radio stations, because where I am here out in the bush. I'll just load the camera there because there's some cars coming in. Don't upset anybody. There we go, you can see I'm all nice and legal here. And there's another guy coming, of course. Okay, so having an interest in conspiracy theories, I've looked into this over the years, and I've formulated opinions about different things, and I thought, well, I might just share those opinions, whether you agree with them or not. It doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, everyone has different opinions. But I thought I'd put my 2 bob worth in with regard to Tunguska. Now, for those of you who are not aware of it, in 1908 there was a massive explosion in Tunguska, Siberia, Russia. And it's spelled Tunguska, Tunguska, if you like to Google it. And apparently it was quite a spectacular event. Seismological stations all over the planet picked it up and pinpointed where this event occurred in a remote part of Siberia. And it threw so much dust up into the atmosphere that it's documented, and I believe you can actually look at this on the net as well, with newspapers of the time that were printed in London, England, saying that you could actually read a newspaper in London at midnight simply because of the light that was being reflected or refracted, or actually being reflected on the dust. The whole planet was shrouded in dust because of this massive explosion, and the sunlight was being reflected through the dust from the light side of the planet round to the dark side of the planet. Apparently it was light at night in London for 3 days after this massive event. I think it was something like 20, it was either 20 or 27 years or something. It was a very long time afterwards that someone actually went out. It was so remote, this area, that a team of people actually went out there to investigate, have a look and see what this huge explosion was. I thought it was a meteorite or something. Expected to find a huge crater where from a meteorite impact. Now, when they got there, they found no such thing. They found it's basically swampland, the ground zero, for want of a better expression, in Tunguska. Sort of marshy swamp, it's full of mosquitoes, very unpleasant environment. And not that I've been there, but I've seen I saw quite a good, well, some parts of it were quite good, documentary about it. And there was a radial pattern of flat trees, so you can imagine a bicycle wheel with spokes going out from the central point. That's how all the trees were blown over, just like spokes in a wheel away from this central point. But someone calculated that whatever it was didn't hit the ground, it exploded in the air, and the downward part of the blast wave actually blew all the trees over, and some of them burned, this, that and the other. And there was speculation that it may have been an alien spacecraft that had been in trouble and was trying to get down to the planet. It had blown up a few miles up in the air. I think that's what they said about the Tunguska explosion. It was actually a few miles up. It was quite a decent altitude. Others have said it's far more likely to have been a big chunk of ice got superheated and just exploded. A meteorite with a very, very high ice content that got superheated, or maybe a big gas content got superheated when it entered the atmosphere and exploded. I personally think that's what happened. It was either a big lump of ice or it was a big rock that had a lot of ice in it or something like that. Because the witnesses at the time said that it came low across the horizon. So it would have spent an awful lot of time being applied with heat, coming through the atmosphere. Fairly shallow angle. And I saw this documentary out called Big Bang in Tunguska, and I wasn't sure whether this thing was serious or not, whether it was supposed to be a serious documentary or whether it was someone's idea of a joke. Some of the theories put forward were just absolutely ridiculous. Could it have been Tesla with his death ray machine? I doubt it. In fact, I think this is just ludicrous. I think towards the end, Tesla was more of a showman than a scientist. He was more into doing party tricks to secure money from gullible investors, people that we fooled with a few fairly simple tricks with electricity. If you think about his transmission of electrical power through the air, he lit up some light bulbs without any wires connected to them, using a big tower of Wardenclyffe, a big dome on top of it. And what he was actually doing, he was supplying this huge copper dome with high frequency AC electricity, and then having some lamps nearby that lit up. Now, that may have looked quite spectacular way back in 1908 when he was doing this, 1907, 1908. And probably to a non-technical person, something like that would seem fairly, it might seem a bit magical today. But this sort of energy is fairly commonplace, and it's completely impractical to actually use it for transmitting power to light bulbs and stuff like that. We call this energy today, this high frequency AC, we call it RF, or radio frequency. It's radio frequency energy. So it's the sort of thing that comes from AM, FM radio stations, television stations. And if you went up to not too close, but if you went up to a mast of an AM broadcast station with a neon tube, say the one at your kitchen light fitting a 60-watt neon tube, and you go and stand near this AM broadcast station mast, the neon tube will light up. And do it at night, it's quite spectacular. It looks like you're holding a lightsaber. And you'll probably find that the tube will actually flicker, it will pulsate with the modulation, the actual program information. Anyway, going off on a tangent here. So, nothing to do with Tesla. And there was someone that said that some aliens turned up and they crashed, and then some of their friends turned up and then they crashed or something. It was a rescue ship for some crashed aliens that crashed there before, and I thought, this is I wouldn't want to be filling out the insurance form for this particular species of alien. Someone's just pulled out in front of me, and that was pretty inconsiderate. Let's get his foot down. And an awful lot of people really believe, or have formed the opinion, that this was an alien spacecraft. supposing I had an atom bomb in this car, and I pulled the pin on it and let it off. Obviously, I'd have to put my fingers in my ears. But after the detonation, you know, the electromagnetic pulse and the gamma rays and the X-rays and the huge plasma, you know, searing plasma and dissipating, would there be a trace left of me or this car? You know, two-way radios or the antennas or something like that. It's not a very big car. You know. Would there be would a trace remain if you actually went and looked at the big crater that would form? Would there be a trace of me or this vehicle? It's an interesting question, that. So if you had a starship, you think something like a starship, excuse me, would be a fairly sizable piece of kit. So even if you had a huge nuclear explosion, a few megatons, would there be a trace of it left? Yeah, I think when I get to the office I'll Google that. Sorry boss, but it's going to happen. You know, I'm going to get a coffee, I'm going to get a biscuit, and I'm going to do a bit of Googling. Everybody does it. Anyway, these researchers went out there. They didn't find a skerrick of the stuff. They didn't find a crater. All they found was a swamp. Found some water, and they thought the actual meteorite itself might be at the bottom of this lake. They actually pumped all the water out of the lake, but there was nothing there. There wasn't even a depression there. So whatever it was, it didn't hit the surface, and no exotic materials have been found. So I would say that as far as interesting as it goes and as curious as it goes, the Tunguska story is nothing whatsoever to do with an extraterrestrial space vehicle. That's my 2 bobs worth on the Tunguska. Now, what's next, I wonder? Well, I did say I did a lot of driving.